Welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. I might be becoming a bad baseball fan who can't enjoy the romantic things because of advanced statistics. 15 years from now, I want to be on the early baseball committee. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran.
I literally have the Fangraphs hoodie, the baseball reference t-shirt, just repping some stats, you know what I'm saying?
It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio. We're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I am doing well today. It's been a heck of a week for me. I've been watching a ton of baseball, not a ton of Major League Baseball, because I haven't had time for that, but I'm still keeping up as much as I can. And yeah, we got some more baseball to talk about today, which is pretty cool, I guess.
Yes, first time in a week doing that because we are coming off the players with that one season draft. Hope you enjoyed that one with Nico Facella and Rob Dickey.
Yeah, I know I did.
Always a funny time doing those drafts. It's better when it's very funny and can bring some laughs about. So that was fun. But yeah, there has been a good amount of news to come through the baseball pipeline. The biggest piece of news, very, very unfortunate. I really hated to hear this. Jacob deGrom, who's announced, I think maybe last Tuesday or Wednesday, but Jacob deGrom, Tuesday, it was announced that he would be requiring Tommy John surgery. I did not know this is the second time he's actually getting Tommy John surgery. The other time was actually in 2010, before he ever graced a major league mound. But he is getting Tommy John surgery. He will miss all of this year, most, if not all of next year. And a real bummer here.
Yeah, no, I mean this just sucks. There's obviously no other way of putting it. Jacob deGrom has been the best pitcher on the planet since 2018 when he really started taking off of the Mets, and it almost feels like he's just like too good for his own body because I mean he's throwing consistent 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. He's throwing like sliders in the low 90s, which is insane, and his body just hasn't been able to keep up with it, which is really unfortunate. He's also 35, if you can believe that. He only debuted 10 years ago to 26, but he's 35 now. He's going to be at least 36 when he gets back, probably 37 as his birthday is actually. So he'll be entering his age 37 season likely when he comes back. This is also really unfortunate for the Rangers. They had a very start to the season. They are continuing to have a good start. A lot of that is because of their offense. So, the deGrom injury probably won't cost them too much. But I mean, this is just the guy that you want to see out on the mound as much as you can. And it really feels like as baseball fans, we've been robbed of a lot of very cool dominance from Jacob deGrom over the last few years with his history of injuries.
Yeah, it really has been. I mean, it's really just been a domino effect ever since, those IL stints started in 2021, because we were seeing, back at that point, we were seeing really his full potential on display. And it's really unfortunate that that's been, compromised now. Not that he's been any worse on the mound. It's just we've seen him much less. I've suspected that he would probably need this surgery for a while now, considering there has been issues with his forearm and elbow for the past couple years. So it seemed like a precursor to things, unfortunately. So it does bring a weird sense of closure about it. Not a good sense of closure, but a sense of closure nonetheless, that he's going to have this. But yeah, I mean, now who knows where he goes from there. Some guys come back from Tommy John surgery and they're able to be fully healthy consistently afterwards. Sometimes that's not the case, unfortunately. So we'll see how deGrom recovers from this when he does. But yeah, it's a real bummer. I don't know if you saw like his media scrum after the announcement. It was not fun to watch. He had tears in his eyes and whatnot, and you understand. I mean, it's been a really frustrating 2 years now for Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, I mean, going back to 2021, Sandy Alderson said that like uh he had a UCL sprain, and it really I really wonder if the Madam or whoever kind of just kicked the can down the road here, because it was like could have been done earlier on. But it's obviously happening now. I think this is kind of just like the inevitable. It felt like for a while. And yeah, with the media scrum and deGrom's reaction, yeah, I mean it's you feel it all just watching it, because you understand what he's gone through, what he knows he can be, and uh, the fact that he's not able to fulfill that, and that he's wasting whatever time he may have left in the league. It's just heartbreaking. I'm sure that he will come back fine. Justin Verlander came back at like age 39 and won the Cy Young. So, there is definitely hope, especially because deGrom is, I think, a couple years away from, having a Hall of Fame case. And I'm sure that that's that he would really want to pursue. But yeah, no, it is just really unfortunate.
Yeah, and I believe he actually, I think Jeff Passan at some point, like 2 years ago, when he was really hitting headlines, I think he had a conversation with deGrom, and deGrom was describing how he wanted to be considered an inner circle Hall of Famer. Is the term he used? There's Hall of Famers, and then there's obviously inner circle guys that are the best of the best. And if you like to just go over exactly how dominant Jacob deGrom has been, especially in since 2021. Like obviously he won Cy Young in 2018 and 2019, but he actually really ramped it up afterward. Since the start of 2021, out of all the pitchers with 150 plus innings, he has the best FIP by 0.53. He has a 160 FIP since the start of 2021. The next best is at 2.13. And he has the best strikeout minus walk rate by 10.1%. He has a 39.8% strikeout minus walk rate since the start of 2021. The next best is at 29.7%. And like that's what we're missing here. And unfortunately, it's almost a too good to be true scenario, because I mean, it's to have that type of stuff and stay healthy. And specifically by type of stuff, I mean that type of velocity and stay healthy. It's near impossible. But also, what should be noted is like how amazing he is at commanding the baseball and keeping it over the plate and hitting the right spots. Not
While
like
also
not
being, yeah, while also having that electric stuff.
Right, yeah. Like that's what separated him. That's why a couple months ago I was saying he might be the greatest talent we've ever seen on a mound, because no one's had that stuff combined with that command. But so that's why it's such a bummer that he's going to be missing probably all of the next 2 seasons here. And yeah, as far as the Rangers go, obviously, a bummer for them. You could definitely point out, yeah, they've been winning without him, which is true. And they're it seems like they're destined for going to the playoffs at least here. As we're talking about them, about 40% of the way through the season. I think what concerns me for the Rangers though is if and when they do get to the playoffs, I think this will have more of a effect.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they'll be all right. But I mean, that's a guy you want to have, especially come playoff time. If the rotation is, Nate Eovaldi number one, and John Gray number two, Andrew Heaney number three, or maybe they get someone at the trade deadline, who knows? But like, you're going to be thinking like there's a big gaping hole in that rotation where, someone else should be.
Right, exactly. Like, Evaldi has Evaldi this year has been a clear number one guy. But like, the Rangers invested in deGrom for a reason. You wanted that firm ace at the top of the rotation for potential playoff runs. And it's really unfortunate that you can't have that at all. And I to go into the too good to be true stuff, we do actually want to talk to someone who knows a little bit more about UCLs, and maybe talk to someone about what may be causing this problem. But he's been consistently since the start of 2021 throwing averaging 98 to 99 on his fastball. There's not really many starters that do that. The only one that comes to mind is Hunter Green and Spencer Strider. And Green has already had Tommy John surgery. Strider, I think, yeah, has also had Tommy John surgery in the last 5 years. So I don't know. Maybe it's sort of an inevitability if you're throwing that hard consistently as a starter. It's really unfortunate. I don't know if they can figure out how to solve that problem.
Yeah, I mean, if we can eventually evolve to it in a way where starters can consistently throw that much and keep their UCLs intact, that would be fantastic. But I mean, until then, there's no reason to really believe it.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the age-old question that these sports doctors are probably going to want to solve, and sports
I'm sure it
sports
has been
medicine
for many
people.
years already.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of money that could be made out of that, so I'm sure people are on the case. Um but yeah, I think it's a real bummer. But anything more to say on the deGrom topic?
I think we covered pretty much all of it.
So yeah, you know, deGrom getting Tommy John for the second time in his career, although it's a luckily, I guess, 13-year gap between Tommy John surgeries. It's not like it's been frequently happening. But it is
Hmm.
sort of an anomaly to get Tommy John surgery twice. Um, but it has happened before, and it will be happening with deGrom. A guy who has gotten Tommy John surgery in recent years, who came back, looked to be forming into his pre-surgery self, is hitting the 60-day injured list once again, not with an elbow issue, but with a shoulder issue. And that's Chris Sale. That's from our hometown team, the Boston Red Sox. He is out, I think, 3 to 4 months with a shoulder scapula issue, or I forgot the exact term, but I know it's a shoulder issue. Um, I mean, guy can't catch a break.
Yeah, no, he really can't. And yeah, like you mentioned, this was really when it looked like things were starting kind of get good. Uh, over his previous six starts before this injury, he had 36 innings pitched and a 2.25 ERA with a 2.74 FIP, had 41 strikeouts and only 5 walks. And that's including the last start where his velocity was down against the Reds, and he clearly just wasn't right. And yeah, I mean, I think in that moment everyone knew, like, okay, velocity's like significantly down. He's struggling to miss bats the way that he actually, that's a lie. He had 6 strikeouts in 3 2/3. He was still actually kind of dominating. But I mean, 5 hits allowed in 3 2/3, an earned run, a walk. Yeah, I mean, this also this also just sucks. Chris Sale was a guy that uh was incredibly electric at his peak. And injuries have also kept him off the field. And yeah, we kind of got a tease here of the old Chris Sale. He was dominant. He was striking guys out. He was pitching extremely well for an extended period of time, for a month and a half. And yeah, same outcome.
Right. It's yeah, it is a very big bummer once again, matching the theme of the episode seemingly. But Yeah, it really stinks because yeah, I mean he started the season sort of struggling. He had a so yeah, to break down the timeline of Chris Sale, he had Tommy John surgery I think spring of 2020. He came back to the field late 2021, like August, September of 2021. Um, was able to pitch, find a bit of a groove and and finally and actually, started in the postseason. Was a little shaky at times. Then heading into 2022, he had this punctured something in his rib problem, kept him off the field until about July. Then he gets hit with a line drive. Then he falls off his bike and is out for the season. Only pitches 5 2/3 innings last year. It was an unbelievable sequence of events. And then finally this year, it's like, okay, he's coming into the season healthy. He's going to start the first week of the season. This is going to be awesome. He starts the season a bit shaky and then starts to find himself. And now he's facing this injury, which is very unfortunate. The specific injury was a stress reaction in his shoulder. It won't require surgery, luckily. But the soonest he can pitch, with the 60-day IL transition is the soonest he can pitch is August 1st. It will probably, he'll probably come back further beyond that, unfortunately. This affects the Red Sox more than the deGrom injury affects the Rangers.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. The Red Sox rotation is not very deep. They have two guys that you could argue should be relievers that are currently in their starting rotation. Um, Maybe even three if you look at Cutter Crawford that way. But I mean, it's Brian Bayo, it's James Paxton, who have both looked solid, down the stretch this year. Then it's Garrett Whitlock, Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford right now. They could use a guy like Chris Sale, who they can really rely on to go out there and dominate every single night. Or at least put them in the keep them in the game every night that he's on the mound. And they aren't going to have that for presumably the rest of the year. Maybe if they sneak into the postseason, we could see it. But I mean, I don't know how confident the Red Sox would feel bring Chris Sale back specifically for the postseason because I can't imagine the regular season is super realistic at this point.
Right, exactly. Given what the news reports have said. And yeah, the Red Sox are a team that's really, really missing an ace. I mean, they've lost over the past couple years, they've lost both Eduardo Rodriguez and Nathan Eovaldi. The Eovaldi situation was weird because I was reading up on it just to refresh myself. Apparently, the Red Sox gave him a good offer at the beginning of the offseason, and then Eovaldi thought his market would be better. And then when he came back asking for that offer, the Red Sox sort of refused it because they had already spent a good amount of money beforehand, which is, I don't know if that was a reflection of ownership or the GM, but it was kind of a weird thing. But they lost Eovaldi nonetheless, who would have been like a good number one right now, but they don't really have a number one. They kind of supplemented Eovaldi with Corey Kluber, who has ended up kind of being a disaster for the team thus far, and still remains in the bullpen, which is interesting. Still on the team, but yeah, they just don't have a clear number one, and that's even more evident with Chris Sale because he hadn't really been a number one up to his last 5 or so starts, and now there's just nothing dominant in the rotation right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely concerning, especially in like maybe the greatest division of all time to essentially not really have much of a rotation. Yeah, I don't know. It's the Sale injury definitely affects the Red Sox more than the DeGrom injury affects the Rangers. I would agree with that statement. I think most people would. Um, I don't know. The Red Sox trade deadline is going to be interesting because the offense is going to struggle. And can you hear this fire truck going off behind me?
No.
No, okay, never mind. Anyway, The Red Sox, their offense has been really struggling lately. They might need a bat. They definitely need a starter if they're trying to buy at the deadline. And obviously, like, I don't think there's ever been a team that was like, actually, we don't need a single reliever. Our bullpen is good as is.
Yeah.
So, I don't think if the Red Sox plan on buying at the deadline, I don't think there's a single asset that they don't need.
Yeah.
And starting is definitely the most important. And I really don't know what the starter market's going to look like at the deadline.
Yeah. All I really know is the main free agent starting pitcher is Aaron Nola, who is going to be on a buying team with the Phillies.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be on the market. The White Sox, you have no idea what they're going to have have up their sleeve at the trade deadline, because I mean, if you're not in contention in the AL Central, I mean, that's a really, really bad sign. Like, you can be 10 games below 500 and be in contention for that division. It's just a very weird thing. So the White Sox, I think, are probably just going to stay in contention. So they might not have someone like Giolito on the market. But yeah, it's a weird place. And going back to the point with the Rangers being more prepared for a deGrom injury than the Red Sox for a Sale injury. It just goes into what these teams did in the offseason. Rangers, they went out, not only did they get a star like deGrom, but they got depth. The Red Sox were just kind of on the fly going about things and not filling their rotation with depth. I mean, they added, they kept Paxton around. They added Kluber, but they didn't really add anyone that was going to be a number one, number two guy. And we're kind of seeing that with this Sale stuff.
I really don't know what trade market's going to look like
Yeah, yeah.
specifically for starters because, like, there was a thought that maybe the White Sox would sell, but I think they've put themselves back into a position where realistically they're buying. They're only 4.5 games out of the AL Central, which is a very winnable division if you're, a team in a position like the White Sox.
Yeah. All you have to do is like win 5 games in a row, and you might just win that division.
You know who's won 5 games in a row?
The A's.
The Oakland Athletics. They're someone edited like the scene from Moneyball where it's like, what is happening in Oakland?
Oh my God, I love that. I love anytime Moneyball
Someone
can
put like
be
a big
shoehorned
banner.
in.
This is yesterday, but someone put up a big banner that had like a number 4 instead of like a number 19.
I
I
love
don't think any of the games have been home either.
right,
I
yeah.
think they've been in Pittsburgh and Milwaukee.
I love anytime Moneyball can
I really
be
wonder. You know what I wonder? I don't think this will happen because they're only a first place. But like, what if the Brewers sell off Corbin Burns?
well, yeah, I mean obviously they're
Because I mean, I think we've already confirmed that he is very much not coming back to them in free agency, and I don't think they're going to extend him. And he's probably got what, like 2 or 3 years left of control. He's got
um
2 years left of control, including this one. I don't think they would because this is a year where they're expecting to make the playoffs. But you know what? They were expecting to make the playoffs last year, and they traded Josh Hader with 2 years
yeah,
control.
you
So
wonder.
that might be the biggest. Like, I'm assuming they would probably be getting a major league ready, like a big time asset back.
Right.
But I wouldn't be terribly surprised, honestly, if they really went for it and traded Corbin Burns.
Um yeah, you would wonder if, yeah, it wouldn't be a normal trade of an ace like that, where you get a bunch of prospects, like the Luis Castillo deal. It might
Mhm.
be like last year's Josh Hader trade where you get a major league ready guy, or a couple prospects to go with that. Um
Yeah, I mean, to stick with the theme, if they're trading to the Red Sox, they're probably going to ask someone like Brian Bayo, like a major league ready talent that has a lot of team control. Maybe a guy like Tristan Casas. Uh, yeah, they would ask for major league talent, guys that they're expecting to win them games right now that have team control.
right. Yeah, and that drop in their relationship has been publicized with how upset Corbin Burns was prior to this season. In spring training, he was in a sort of media scrum and talked about how horrible the arbitration process was with the Brewers this year. So, that relationship has kind of been publicized at how badly it turned, and maybe some things were mended, but we don't exactly know. And yeah, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise if some sort of transaction happened there.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely the biggest hear me out type of
Yeah,
trade that could happen at this deadline.
right. Yeah, it could be that one surprising thing where like, whoa, I thought it was not going to be a cool deadline, and now it is. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, um, the Brewers are definitely in the playoff picture, considering their division. Another team in the playoff picture that just continues to stick around, and as you mentioned, has the same record as the Los Angeles Dodgers right now, is the Miami Marlins, who are 37 and 29. I believe they've won 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 8 or something, but they've also won 19 out of 27. They are rolling, doing pretty well. What have been thinking about the Marlins?
I mean, the obvious story is Luis Ariz, who is only batting 397. What a fraud.
Yeah, get them out of here.
Um, no, but I mean, obviously he's gotten a lot of attention with the chase to 400. He also has like a 950 OPS. So, people look at that and be like, oh, well, he's only an average guy. And maybe he is, but I mean, you look at a guy with a 950 OPS and that guy's good. That doesn't matter how they're doing it. That's something that you'll take on your team any day of the week, twice on Sunday. Um, I'm saying this because I'm stalling, trying to find out how many like when they started winning a lot like this, and it looks like, oh, May 25th. What a day.
Yeah, yeah. They've had some different jumping off points, I think.
Yeah.
Because the
So real quick, since May 25th, the Miami Marlins have the best record in Major League Baseball. 750 winning percentage. They are 12 and 4. They have scored 85 runs and allowed 56. So I think pretty clearly their pitching is a large part of the reason, but their offense is too. 85 runs is a lot. It's not the most in the National League or Major League Baseball, but it's definitely better than most. But I mean, yeah, I think the pretty clear uh reason for their success has been that pitching. And that's kind of what it takes to succeed in the way that the Marlins have, where you look at a team with a not great run differential, but they're still winning games. They're winning a lot of one-run games. It's, combination of like kind of lackluster offense combined with ridiculous pitching, specifically bullpen. That's what it was for the Seattle Mariners in 2021 when they had the fun differential season.
yeah, right.
If you remember that, but the Marlins, I mean, obviously they've been hitting a lot better, and the run differential is actually good now. Or at least it has been in this span. But specifically, they have the second highest pitcher FWAR in this span. They have 10.34 strikeouts per nine as a staff. That is second in the league, only to Toronto, which is pretty fantastic. They also have a 49% ground ball rate as a team. That leads the majors, and that's also like pretty incredible to do as an entire team over a 16-game stretch.
Yeah, right.
The ground ball rate of 50%. Looking
Yeah,
at specifics here, sorry if you had something,
no, go
but
ahead.
Jesus Luzardo has been really leading this rotation. 11.94 strikeouts per nine over the span, 1.4 walks per nine, an 0.52 home runs per nine. He does have a 3.63 ERA, which isn't like fantastic, but he has a 1.89 FIP and a 0.7 FWAR over his last 3 starts, which is excellent.
Yeah, that really is. Um, yeah, the pitching has definitely been sort of the catalyst in their success. But yeah, as you mentioned, their offense is also doing well, which is not something you say about the Marlins very often. Usually, at least the precedent of the last, I don't know, 3 years, maybe even half decade is like, okay, this pitching,
Really, just since the fire sale.
right? Yeah, since the fire sale, um, it's been like, okay, this pitching is like pretty nice. I mean, like you think about, oh, this pitching has a great future, but this offense is just atrocious, and it's been one of the worst offenses over the past few years. But in this, stretch in which they've won 12 out of 16, as you mentioned, they have a 116 weighted runs created plus. Their offense is 16% better than the average offense. That ranks sixth in baseball in this span. They've been able to get a high, batting average, and it's not just been Luis Suarez. Actually, Jorge Soler in his last 28 games has a 1060 OPS in 122 plate appearances. He has 12 home runs in his last 28 games, getting on base at a
He's
393 clip,
even he's even
slugging
better
at a
against lefties too.
667 clip. Sorry, what was that?
And Jorge Soler has like ridiculous lefty righty splits this year, like specifically against lefties. And it's not even that he's like bad against righties. But I'm gonna find it real quick because it's just ridiculous. Yeah, against left-handed pitching this year, Jorge Soler has 64 plate appearances. He is slashing 333, 438, 889 for a 1326 OPS. He has 9 home runs against lefties in 64 plate appearances and 54 at bats.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Um,
That's insane.
and Soler was, they signed him to a 3-year deal prior to the 2022 season. And it's looking like that's shaping up to be a pretty good signing, at least as of this year. As his OPS now overall on the season stands over 900, which is really, really good for a guy. They gave him, I think, 15 million a year. He's definitely, you know, getting to his value and then some, with a 1060 OPS in his last 28 games and 905 OPS overall in the year. He's been really, really good. Along with Luis Suarez. I mean, everyone's talking about Luis Suarez, but you know, in the month of June,
As
I
I
think
should.
in the month of June, I think he's got over 1,000 OPS as well. He's been unbelievable too. And yeah, I think I have a couple other guys I could get to, but yeah, Joey Wendell in the Marlins last 16 games has a 152 weighted runs created plus. Um, Brian De La Cruz has been doing well as well, with a 134 weighted runs created plus in the team's last 16 games. So there's been some contributors. I think Jesus Sanchez is having a good year too. He's a really young outfielder for the Marlins. So, I mean, when the Marlins offense is cooking, I mean, this team is doing well.
Mhm.
You just don't see that
By
too
the
often.
way, I want to shout Garrett Hampson slash line over this. I want to shout out Garrett Hampson slash line over the span. It's only 26 plate appearance, but I mean, I see a 278, 480, 278,
Um,
a 23.1% walk rate.
oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
278, 480, 278. Oh, I love that. Um,
Um, Yuri Perez in his last 3 starts has an 060 ERA. His, his FIP is a lot higher. Yuri Perez is a year younger than Paul Skeens, who's like the consensus top pitcher in the MLB draft this year. And
yeah,
he's pitching for the Marlins in the major leagues,
yeah, yeah. Perez is doing great.
which, maybe that says more about like the process of uh I'm pretty sure that says more about like the international process versus the homegrown, like the American process, but hey, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. It does go back to that great foolish baseball tweet when he was like, "Wait till Juan Soto gets to Adley Rutschman's age."
Yeah. Now
It's
wait till Yuri Perez gets to Paul Skeens' age.
right, right. Um, but yeah, and regarding the Marlins too, I think when guys like Soler, Wendell, um, even even I don't know, someone like Brian De La Cruz, who's kind of developed lately. It's solidifying a little more trust in the Kim Ing, uh, you know, general management. She was hired as the GM before 2022, and some of those
Before
pieces.
2021, before 2021, yeah, because she traded for Jesus Luzardo in 2021.
Yep, yeah, before 2021. And some of those players in the offense, and obviously Jesus Luzardo too on the pitching side of things, are like working out right now. Some of those signings did not pan out last year, but with Jorge Soler specifically, he's looking really good. And I mean, the Marlins were not really expected to do much this year, and them overperforming right now, it definitely looks good for upper management.
Especially with the Mets and Phillies both underperforming. They're tied for the third strike in the National League right now, which is really fun.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and it's um over this past span, it hasn't really been a factor of like them winning a ton of one-run games. Like that's been part of it, but like over the past 3 or so weeks, um, they've also been able to dominate teams, which is pretty cool. So we'll see how far this takes them. Um, Offense looks better, pitching looks good as ever. And Yeah, also shout out to Braxton Garrett. He's doing amazing too. He's had
Yeah.
really, really good strikeout numbers over his last 6 starts. So
He has a 242 xFIP. He does have a 20.3% home run to fly ball ratio, which is BS, but he does have a 27.2% or 2.4 xFIP.
that's unfortunate for him. But yeah, his strikeout numbers are unbelievable over the span and
Yeah.
beyond the span too. Just wanted to give a quick shout out because his for a different how about that. Not he's not my how about that, but for a guy I was studying up on, I was looking at like the called strike and whiff rate leaderboards over the past month, and this guy's like at the top of it. So that's pretty cool. Um, so anything more on the Marlins before we get into players to highlight?
No, I think that's kind of it.
All right, so that leads into the part we have most prepared for. Um, Starting with players to highlight for good reasons with our Monday, June 12th, 2023 edition of
How about that?
Who do you have for us today?
So for my how about that, I feel like there was a time where this guy was ineligible for how about that, but I think you and I would agree that he's re-entered the pool. But I'm talking about JD Martinez, who has been hitting very well for the Los Angeles Dodgers over the last couple of weeks. Since May 22nd, he is slashing 315, 333, 808, 1142 for a 197 weighted runs created, plus the third highest in Major League Baseball over that span. He leads the majors with 10 home runs, and the next closest is 7 since May 22nd. He also leads the National League in slugging percentage overall this season at 619. So I mean he's back. During this span, he has a 19.2% barrel rate, and that is the 12th highest among the 254 hitters with at least 25 batted balls and 1 barrel. He also has a hard hit rate of 59.6%, the 9th highest in the majors. And also in this span, I thought this was interesting, but he has a 1667 slugging percentage on balls to the pull side, which is tied with Aaron Judge for third highest in the majors over this span. And when JD Martinez was going with the Red Sox, he was hitting a lot of balls to the opposite field and driving the ball the other way. This year, he's going to the pull side, and it's actually given a lot more success. So he's kind of switching that up now. And before the span, he had a ground ball rate of 36.4%, which is already very low. But in this span, it's down to 26.9%, the fourth lowest among the 93 hitters with at least 50 batted balls in this span. He also has a fly ball rate of 48.1%, which is the third highest among the 272 hitters with at least 25 batted balls. Yeah, almost half of his batted balls are fly balls, which is nuts. And by the way, he also has 52 batted balls, so the 25 is not a cherry pick. He has specifically crushed fastballs in this span. He is hitting 381 against four seamers, cutters, and sinkers, and he is slugging 1048. And that 1048 slugging percentage ranks second highest among the 119 hitters with at least 25 batted balls against fastballs. So JD Martinez is back. He's driving the ball, and he's been, a big reason the Dodgers have stayed in the NL West, which is, it sounds weird, but the way the Diamondbacks are going right now, it's been tough to keep up with them.
JD Martinez.
How about that?
Yeah, Martinez. It looked kind of bleak after last year because it looked like his power stroke was kind of gone. Home runs went way down. It was far from a 30 home run season, which had become routine prior to that. But it looked like, okay, when the Red Sox let him go, I was like, okay, his exit velocity went down. It didn't seem like he was the same hitter, but it looked like just sort of now it looks like more of a fluke as he really has come back to the hitter that he was prior to last season. So now into my how about that, who is a starting pitcher, actually kind of to go with the theme of the episode, starting pitcher for the Rangers, talking about John Gray, who's really been dominating.
Special.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I forgot he was the first ARR comeback special. I forgot he was a slightly alarming. Do you remember when?
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was before graduation, because I feel like I remember talking about him in your room.
Yeah, well, this span does go back to before graduation, so I imagine so it's been about a month since we talked about him, so that's good.
Yeah.
But he's really turned it around. In his last 6 starts, he has a 0.84 ERA and a 2.76 FIP in 43 innings pitched. Out of 85 qualifiers in this span, his ERA ranks first, and his FIP ranks 5th out of 85. Also, out of 91 pitchers with 500 plus pitches thrown in this span, his expected WOBA and expected slugging against is 4th lowest. Largely, what the difference has been is way more strikeouts and way less walks. His strikeout rate has gone from 15% before the span to 29% in the span. His walk rate has gone from 11% before the span to 4% in the span, which makes his strikeout minus walk rate go from 4% before the span to 25% in the span, a 21% increase in strikeout minus walk rate. Part of this has to do with him getting a lot more swings and misses. His whiff rate has gone from 22% to 31%. And out of 73 pitchers with 250 plus swings against him, his whiff rate ranks 14th. And out of 91 pitchers with 500 pitches thrown in this span, his called strike and whiff rate ranks 13th, about top 15% there. And part of the reason he has been able to avoid walks and only have a 4% walk rate in the span is just getting more ahead in counts. He has gone from reaching 3-ball counts in 21% of his batters faced before the span to only 13% of them in this span. So he has been avoiding the 3-ball counts a lot more in his last 6 starts, helping him get to a 4% walk rate, helping him get to a 0.84 ERA in his last 6 starts in 43 innings pitched. So John Gray getting this year's first ARR comeback special. Pretty unbelievable.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my pants, putting suckers in fear.
Big time.
Yeah. So now we go from the highs to the lows where we're talking players or subjects that have been underperforming with our Monday, June 12, 2023 edition of
Slightly alarming.
Who do you have for us today?
Yeah, so my slightly alarming is Anthony Rizzo of the New York Yankees. And man, he has been really struggling lately. Since May 24th, he is slashing 120, 170, 120, 290 for a negative 21 weighted runs created plus. His slugging percentage, OPS, and weighted runs created plus all rank last among the 172 qualifiers over this span. And I mean, there's just everything is, gone down before the span and in the span. Before the span, he had an average exit velocity of 90.7 miles per hour. And in this span, it is down to just 84.3 miles per hour, which ranks 10th lowest among the 260 hitters with 25 batted balls in the span. Also, before the span, he had a fly ball rate of 34.4% and an average exit velocity on fly balls of 92.9 miles per hour. And in the span, he has a fly ball rate of just 25% and an average exit velocity on fly balls of 90.4 miles per hour. So not only is he hitting less fly balls in a hitter-friendly ballpark, but also even when he does, he's hitting them a lot softer. And not even the short porch can send those. His ground ball rate has gone from 28.1% to 38.9%. His hard hit rate has gone from 37.5% to 19.4%. That is tied for fourth lowest on that same list of 260. And his sweet spot rate has gone from 51.6%, which was the third highest among the 302 hitters with at least 25 batted balls in that span, to just 33.3%. So he's kind of coming back down to earth. His sweet spot percent is around major league average now. And that's all of his batted ball stuff. But additionally, his outside swing rate has gone from 35.2% to 43.8%. And his outside contact rate has gone from 64.6% to 56.6%. So he's, his batted ball profile is overall worse off across the board. He's also chasing more and getting less results when he does. So Anthony Rizzo has been pretty dreadful over the last few weeks, and those are the reasons why.
Yeah, Anthony Rizzo.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, looks like nothing is going right at all. No silver lining there at all. My slightly alarming, I hate to do it, but it is a talk of shame. It is one of my players to watch, and Rowdy Tellez has really been struggling in his last 18 games. In his last 18 games, he's hitting 161 with a 381 OPS and 0 weighted runs created plus. Out of 175 qualifiers in this span, his on-base percentage is second worst, slugging is fourth worst, OPS is fourth worst, and weighted runs created plus is also second worst. Out of 268 hitters with 25 plus batted balls in the span, his expected WOBA is fourth worst, so the expected numbers are kind of in line with his actual numbers too. In this span, he has only one extra base hit and one barrel. This is a guy who really thrives on extra base hits, can get the long ball, but has been unable to do it. No home runs also in this span. His barrel rate has gone from 13% before this 18-game span, 13% to 2% in this span. Also, his walk rate has gone down dramatically, gone from 13% to 3%. He only has one walk in his last 13 games, and his chase rate has gone from 23% before that span to 33% in that span. And he has also gone from getting to 3-ball counts in 31% of his plate appearances to only 15% of his plate appearances. So Rowdy Tellez, he's barreling up the ball. It's pretty simple. He's been barreling up the ball way less, and he has been seeing less pitches and chasing more pitches, resulting in a dramatic decrease in walk rate along with his dramatic decrease in barrel rate. And that has resulted in him having a 0 weighted runs created plus in his last 18 games. So Rowdy Tellez,
Slightly alarming.
With the talk of shame, as he was my Brewers player to watch. Started the season really good, but has been struggling the last 3 weeks. So yeah, that does it for players to highlight. And now we will get into the final segment of the show, previewing the week ahead. I will be looking at the series to watch. Daniel will be looking at the day-by-day matchups, day-by-day starting pitching matchups, to be more specific. With series to watch, couple series particularly intrigue me. Just two for now. The Rangers and Angels will be going at it at Globe Life Park. Gray will be pitching. How about that? John Gray will be pitching in the series. It is a 4-gamer between the Rangers and Angels. Rangers have been doing great, obviously leading the AL West, but the Angels have also been doing pretty well, landing 5 games above 500 right now at this point in the season. They are in playoff contention and can potentially be a challenger to the Rangers, and could gain some ground potentially in this series. So I'd be looking out for that matchup. And the other matchup that I like is the D-backs and the Phillies out in Arizona. That looks to be a I believe 3-game series. No, 4-game series. 4-game series between the D-backs and the Phillies. I say these two teams because both of them have been doing pretty well as of late. The D-backs have obviously been making way and gaining a lead in the National League West, but the Phillies have also kind of come back to earth from their struggles and have been doing well the last 10 games or so. So a couple teams to look out for there. What do you have for the day-by-day pitching matchups?
Shout out to the Subway Series without Aaron Judge or Pete Alonso
Yeah,
happening this week.
I didn't feel like mentioning them because I don't know, both teams are just, they don't really excite me right now at the moment. But it is happening.
Not a whole ton of baseball happening today, but Connor Seabold will be facing his old team, at Fenway, facing James Paxton and Red Sox Rockies. Tyler Anderson and Dane Dunning will face each other in Rangers and Angels. Yeah, like Chris mentioned at Globe Life Field. Zach Eflin will be facing the A's for the Rays in Oakland. Jesus Luzardo and Bryce Miller will face each other in Marlins Mariners. And matchup of the night comes from Giants Cardinals. It's Logan Webb versus Matt Liberatore.
Yeah.
So then moving on to Tuesday, Spencer Strider will face the Tigers for the Braves in Detroit. Chris Bassett will face the Blue Jays, or will face the Orioles for the Blue Jays in Baltimore. Luis Severino and Max Scherzer will face each other in Yankees Mets. Alex Cobb and Jack Flaherty will be facing each other in Giants Cardinals. Luis Ortiz and Jamison Tyon will face each other in Pirates and Cubs. Jaime Barria, who's pitched very well for the Angels, will be facing John Gray versus How About That in Rangers. And Hunter Brown will face the Nationals for the Astros in Houston. That's a 2019 World Series rematch. Tanner Bybee and Joe Musgrove will face each other in Guardians Padres in San Diego. The Padres will be welcoming back like 5 of their former players probably in that series. Zach Wheeler will be facing the Diamondbacks for the Phillies at Chase Field. George Kirby will be facing the Marlins for the Mariners at T-Mobile Park. Lance Lynn and Tony Gonsolin will face each other in White Sox Dodgers in LA. And matchup of the night comes from Brewers Twins in Minnesota. It's Corbin Burns versus Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, good all central matchup there.
Yeah. And then on Wednesday, we're gonna have, let's see, what do we got? Not a whole lot is announced, but Reed Detmers and Andrew Heaney are facing each other in Angels Rangers. Josiah Gray and Framber Valdez will face each other in Nationals Astros. Aaron Savali and Michael Waka will face each other in Guardians and Padres. Ranger Suarez and Merrill Kelly will face each other in Phillies D-backs. Luis Castillo will face the Marlins for the Mariners. Clayton Kershaw is pitching for the Dodgers against the White Sox, and matchup of the night pretty easily comes from the Subway Series. It's Garrett Cole versus Justin Verlander.
Yeah, 2019 Cy Young race.
Yeah, the former Astros.
Yeah.
Or no, wait, yeah, absolutely.
220.
And then I'll throw in some matchups on Thursday because a lot is actually announced. Aaron Nola will face the Diamondbacks for the Phillies. Mackenzie Gore and Christian Javier will face each other in Nationals Astros, that's a fun one. Logan Allen and Yu Darvish will face each other in Guardians Padres. Logan Allen is a former Padres prospect. Dylan Cease and Michael Grove will face each other in White Sox Dodgers. And matchup of the night, I'm pretty confident this won't be topped, comes from Angels Rangers. It's Shohei Ohtani versus Nathan Eovaldi.
Yeah, I saw that when I was looking at the series. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a true ace-off, at least how things have been going. And Otani's coming off another ace-off. He faced Luis Castillo in his last matchup. So yeah, fun to have those types of matchups. Actually both coming out of the AL West, which is turning into a pretty good division, oddly enough. So yeah, that does it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. Happy to get back talking about the current MLB topics. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you are listening on an Apple Podcast or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel to get that and all the digital content over there. And if you're listening on YouTube and want to check out the audio only edition of the podcast, go to the Apple Podcasts and Spotify streams. Those are also called Above Replacement Radio. Follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianza. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. And we hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time where we'll be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball. Once again, see you then.
This conversation is over.